Okay, Sam, we're up on YouTube right now, which will actually be up tonight. And this is unedited because we never edit the raw part of building the show. So welcome to YouTube and to Blab I Am.
Thanks for
So
having me.
you're ready. So we're gonna start the podcast here. We're gonna do all about you and your background, and then we'll take a break for a commercial break, and then we'll for the podcast. Then we'll come up with your success principles, and that's it. About 30 minutes.
Okay.
So second of silence. Welcome to Timelines, episode 141. Today we have Sam Brooks coming to us from Long Beach. She is a student of political science, queer activist, advocate of postmodern politics, founder of Sober Long Beach, and guest panelist on Meet the Voter. Sam, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's fun to do Timelines. Timelines is all about you and your background. Then we're going to talk about your success principles. So tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are today, being basically you're an intern with LA, the Democrat Party in LA. Mm-hmm. And you're a student and you're going places. So tell us how you got to where you are today and then where you want to go.
Oh, that would be a really, really, really long story.
We only have 7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah. So, I mean, briefly, I grew up in Laguna Niguel, very particular community. And I was an actress for a lot of years when I was a child and ended up on this adventure, which led me to here.
Wow. I did not know you were an actress, on the workup.
Yeah. There's a lot of little elements. Sorry.
I'm not going to let you go by that. So what did you do as an actress?
I always keep it vague because I can't say that I necessarily identify with that whole thing a lot, but I did work in commercials, film, TV shows. I started when I was 11 and stayed in that industry until I was 19. So that afforded me the opportunity to travel a lot, to meet a lot of different kinds of people, but definitely non-traditional kind of upbringing because of
how did you get into that line of business as a young child? Your parents had to help you, and I know that you did study film. Production.
It was my mom who knew people who were involved in that, who decided to, I said I wanted to get involved with it, and it was pretty amazing experience.
Now, you lived in Orange County. Was there production in Orange County, or do you have to go up into LA and Hollywood?
It was going back and forth to LA all the time, like auditions, callbacks, 2 to 5 times a week,
Geographically, it's not too far on Highway 405 or 5, but if you have traffic, it takes forever.
Yeah, it was a lot of time in the car. Yeah.
40 miles turns into hours in the traffic.
Yeah. And so after that, like you said, when I turned 19, I decided I wanted to move out of the country. So I'd saved up some money. I relocated to France. I studied film there, worked there for a little while in film and other things. Altogether, I was there for about 5 years, and I came back and realized that I needed to get sober. So that was a huge thing in my life.
So how long were you not sober?
Well, from the age of 15 to 26. Yeah.
In France. So what was it like living in France?
It was great. It was, I remember the first time I went was when I was 17. I went to a summer film program there, and just realizing that we don't live in the center of the world, that there's an entire world around us with people with different perspectives and values. It was really important.
So now you're back in LA, and you're in Long Beach. You're living in Long Beach. You're going to school. And what are your aspirations? What are you doing? And you're also working as an intern with the LA County Democratic Party, correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
I do lots of stuff. I'm studying. I discovered politics, and that is almost all of my life. And I'm passionate about helping people, which sounds kind of silly, when you say it in our day and age, but it's the truth. I think that there's a lot of things that are happening internationally, as well as if I walk outside of my apartment here in the beautiful streets of Long Beach, that aren't okay. And I think that I have, Elie Wiesel said, our lives are not our own. They belong to those who need us desperately. I believe that, I believe that's why we're here.
Very good. So, and you want to go, I know that you want to go to Berkeley, or you're working at going to Berkeley, and you have a pretty good chance of getting there. It's
Hopefully.
You're not there till you're there, though.
Nope. It's nothing's in the bag till it's in the bag.
And what are your studies right now?
Right now I am doing all politics. So political theory, comparative government, international relations, public administration, those sorts of things.
Very good. And of course, the volunteer works really well too. So that's, you know what, I think this is a good time because I know what your success principles are, your life and success and leadership principles. And I think we're going to be talking about those for a while.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to take a break and then come back to those. This is the marketing break for iTunes. So with that, all right, Sam, we're back from the break and we're going to my favorite part. It's the success, life, and leadership principles. And Sam's got some unique ones. She's got 3 that are going to make the list with her name on them because they're unique.
Yeah.
We all have commonalities, and we've had a lot of folks now with these principles. But Sam, I'm going to read over your success principles and we'll talk about them. So here's Sam's 8 success principles. 1 is stay sober. 2 is set priorities. 3 is show up. 4 is adjust perspective. 5 is spiritual guiding principles. 6 is bridging. 7 is know. I got to say this again. Break. 7 is know you know nothing. 8 is reality does not exist. Well, Sam, those are your 8 principles. Let's talk about them. Stay sober. Talk about that. How's that affect you? That's interesting to be number 1. By the way, that's the first time someone who said stay sober. So you get original on that one. Yes. But it sounds like it's basic and a great idea.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I guess, if you want to make it something that's accessible to everyone, it's to not have those things that rule you.
Yeah, it's more than just staying sober can be sober reality. I love that. Don't have other things controlling your life.
I mean, realistically, I don't think that's possible. I think that as people, we're addicted to 5 million things. We're addicted to behaviors. We're addicted to coffee. We're addicted to success or fear or whatever. But I think that a big part of the journey is learning how to cut those things off,
Man, but there's like when you say addicted to coffee, but there's some people who say the coffee or amounts of alcohol can be very healthy for a person.
I don't think health has anything to do with it. I think what it has to do with is when I walk into Starbucks and pay $5 for a beverage every single day. Doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So you think I could just have a water.
It's more than the coffee, though. It's the social aspects of it, though.
Yeah, but all of those things create, I don't think addiction is necessary. I think addiction is a blanket reality. It's the way that we work,
There's physical addictions that are proven. We know exist. And like caffeine provides some, but you can break that pretty fast. Like 2 or 3 days, I think you can detox yourself of caffeine. But I still like it a lot.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? I mean, how did that evolve? You talked a little bit about your lifestyle. You talked about not being sober. About 15, you started to fall into a bad way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like most people's stories I've heard, I started drinking about the same as everyone. And I just had a special relationship with it. And over time
yeah, I think when you're younger too, when you drink, you're more susceptible.
I don't know if that's true. I've heard stories of people who particularly didn't drink because they had parents who were alcoholics or things like that. Mm-hmm. And then, at 30 start drinking and it's the same thing, because like I was saying, it really is a physiological thing as well as mental. So I don't know if you could avoid that forever by never drinking maybe, but.
Right. But again, there's pros and cons to it. So how'd you get out of this? How'd you become sober? What made you become sober?
I got help.
People around you?
Yeah, people helped me. Well, I went out and looked for help, and I started being honest with myself, and I started taking responsibility for myself,
Okay. And also you have this organization called you're founder of Sober Long Beach.
Yeah.
What is that group about?
It's a private organization. We've got about 450 members, and its purpose is just to transmit information. So we're not associated with any kind of program. It's just its own thing that's to connect people.
How do you manage 450 people? That's a lot of work to connect. Oh, it's a Facebook group?
Yeah.
Just to, not meet me or meet up, just Facebook?
We do. I mean, that happens in lots of different ways, but the the key thing is Facebook.
That, what the listener may not understand the Facebook group. Why don't you explain the Facebook group for a minute? Tell them what it's all about. And it's an open group. Anyone can join, or do you have to be vetted into it?
No, it's totally private. So you couldn't find it.
Nice.
Even if you were searching for it, if you wanted, you'd have to be invited by someone else.
So you have to be invited. So there's 3 types of Facebook groups.
Mm-hmm. So you have the private, the public, and what's the third type?
You've got the secret. It's called the secret. The private is the secret. And then there's the open to all, where anybody can just join automatically. And then there's a hybrid between, where you can see it and you can see the members, but you have to ask to come in.
Yeah. So for anyone who's not necessarily familiar, a big part of recovery is anonymity. So we definitely don't want for people to need for it to be known that they're a member of that group or anything like that.
Is that an active Facebook group? Do you go on every day?
Yeah, every day.
Yeah, that's good. And help you
going on,
It's a great idea. I've never heard Facebook groups used in that way, but it's a really good idea. So anyway, going on to setting priorities. Number 2 is set priorities. Mm-hmm. So how do you set priorities? What does that mean to you?
When I got sober, someone taught me that overwhelm is a lack of effective priorities. So if I only have so many hours in a day, right? We all only have so many hours. I only have so much energy. I can only do so many things. So if I'm feeling overwhelmed, it's not that there's actually too much to do. It's that I'm not putting them in the right order. So what I do is I have sectors of my life that create levels of prioritization. And whenever I'm feeling overwhelmed, if I needed to, I would just, now it's in my head, I know what they are now. But in the beginning of sobriety, for example, I would look at the list, well, okay, I do this first, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, I understand. You said the first thing you do, inch by inch, it's a cinch.
Yeah. I mean, but it's funny because, I remember before I applied that to my life, and I see other people struggling with that, how it's like, I have to get these 5,000 things done and it's not possible. It's like, well, why are we trying to accomplish the impossible? Why do we do that to ourselves?
Right. I've got a little story I'd like to mention. I don't know how it would replace. You're talking about building up. I had a business and I was activated for 9/11, but when I come back, I'd write these 2 and 3 pages of to-do lists. And I think I'm never going to get these done. But when I look back over the years, I got almost all of them done. Yeah. But as long as you break them down and you do them day by day and you don't try to do them all at once.
Yeah. And there's an order. Our lives are a reflection of what we care about. Whether or not you identify that, that's the scary thing. Like I've had points in my life where my life was still a reflection of what I cared about, but that wasn't necessarily what I wanted to be caring about. Right.
Our life is a reflection of what we care about. That's a great quote. You just got a quote.
Things you use for your time, Yeah,
that's a great quote. So next thing is number 3 is show up.
Yeah.
Show up.
Someone taught me that too in sobriety.
What does show up mean?
Show up means I show up no matter how I feel. I say yes. I get invited to do something, I go. It's about first of all, like feelings aren't facts. So, if I'm afraid, that's not valuable. And life is what happens when I participate in it. So it's actually like that simple idea has led to my life exploding in exciting different things and connections and successes and all kinds of stuff. Whereas before I lived like that, as someone who deals with anxiety, or like anyone, I deal with fear. Maybe I wouldn't have gone, my life was a lot less interesting.
So here's an example of you showing up. You are actually on a new member and a guest on Meet the Voter. It's our new show on live Sunday mornings at 9:30. What made you decide to even show up or do that? What's the story behind you coming on the show with Nick Hernandez?
Yeah, Nick invited me, and that's the way.
So You met Dr. Nicholas Hernandez.
I've known Nick for a long time, 15 years or something.
Okay. Back in your early days when you're young in Laguna Beach, Laguna Hills.
Yeah, he's known me all through the ups and downs.
That's good. I think he's gone through sobriety, hasn't he? But he drinks wine though, so.
Yeah, I don't know that Nick has I don't know
I don't
his
think he's
story
ever
behind
had a
anything
strict
like that.
addiction, but he's,
Yeah.
he's balanced. They're into health.
No, he's just I met him when I was pretty young, probably about 13 or something
Mhm.
like that. So yeah. But yeah, it's that kind of thing, like, you know,
That's good. You've known him a long
something
time.
like
I didn't know
this, like
that.
the opportunity to talk with other people and to learn about things. It's awesome. It's what it's all about.
Okay. Number 4, adjust perspective.
Regularly.
All right. So adjust. So what does that mean? Just perspective. When you said regularly.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it has to be all the time. Um, I think that there's so many things about living in contemporary society that lead to self-obsession. And that's in my experience, a road towards stress and fear and depression and all kinds of different things. So I have to regularly stop and think about what is actually going on in this complex world around me, the things that people are going through, how I'm not saying I'm insignificant, or any of us are, but in a way, yeah, I'm this tiny little thing. So whatever it is I'm worrying about like a test tomorrow or paying a bill or whatever it might be, is not that big of a deal.
Nice. So in just perspective, I mean, I like, it's nice philosophy. I believe that I really concur with, you do your best,
Politics
but
helps with that too. You start
it's a
really
new one.
getting an idea of what people are going through. And you're like,
Party
wow.
politics, that's unique. Are you talking about party politics?
Politics in general, just learning
Okay.
about what's going on in the world.
Oh, yes. It's a complex world. I once had an anthropologist tell me in my training, it said the bottom line is people are complex.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate for complexity.
Yeah,
Complexity is a
that's a new
very
one.
good thing.
Well, that might fit into one of these coming up. See, just
Probably.
perspective. So, spiritual guiding principles. That's sort of a principle in itself. Spiritual guiding principles. So, what's your spiritual side?
I am not a member of an organized religion, which is why I use spiritual, but I believe that we are all more alike than we are different. I believe in the power of human connection. I believe that the spaces between you and me are my fear, which is sometimes institutionalized. But I think that that's the crux of the issue when we're talking about the world and people.
Okay, very good. So, next 6, and this is a new one, is bridging. Explain bridging.
So, bridging is the concept of rather than having systems of uniformity that are trying to bond people through things like, oh, well, we're all Christian, so we're good, and everyone who's not Christian isn't, for example, or we're all Buddhist, and so we're good, and everyone who's not Buddhist is bad. Rather than using bonding mechanisms, bridging mechanisms are those which close the gap between us, because in my opinion, those bonding mechanisms are false. They're lies, because within the Christian community, there's nothing but complexity and space and disconnectedness. And so it's a false connection. Whereas finding the bridge between our differences is universal. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. I think we should always look for what's common first, and that's what we try to do on Meet the Voter. Was we look at our commonalities. I'm on the right, Nick's on the left, and we're trying to find the common factors between us and start there, and then work from there how to improve.
Yeah, which is an element of bridging. But then what's interesting is if you think about it, the one thing that unifies all people is our differentness, is our otherness. We are all
Right.
individuals. None of us can fit successfully into any box. And the harder we try to push ourselves into these boxes, the more tensions and fear we create.
Isn't that a dichotomy? Let me mention one thing. Simon Sinek, he talks about the why, and he's on our. If you go to timelines, we have him on what a timeliner is. And Simon Sinek is actually Nicky Hernandez. Nick's son is Common Sense Band is on one of the 3 videos that we feature. But Simon Sinek talks about the why, and it's the why we do things. I believe, I don't know, how do you feel about this? I think we all have the similar whys, but the how and the what is different. The why we do something, the fundamental principles, why we do something. We do something, the why. We all want a high quality of life for our family and other people. At least I hope so. What the whys are the same. but the what and the how varies, at least in politics. The why, like why do you do something? Why you're participating as an intern in
Yeah,
the
the most base drives, like
the why.
because you can describe, I think, effectively all people with some really, really simple concepts. Like we need to be appreciated.
Like, why do we have government? And we need appreciation. That's true.
We need appreciation. We're infinitely adaptable. And those two concepts alone, I think, explain a whole lot. You know?
Right. Now, I'm going to ask you specifically, what do you think the commonalities are between the Democrats and Republicans? Since you're on the show and you're an intern with LA.
Yeah.
What are the commonalities? I want to push this a little harder, this one, the bridging. What are the commonalities that we both believe in?
Okay, like in a tangible way?
We want public safety. We want to be secure.
Yeah.
That's why we have government.
I think that a lot of liberals are arguing, it's kind of this empty argument in ways when we're talking about the role of government and how big government's going to be or whatever. Really, on one side, you're saying, we should have more government, but we're not just saying that. We're saying we should have more government that works, not the one we have now, not more of the corrupt government.
So we have the why, the how, and the what. The how is how you do. The why is the principles that we all believe in. The how would be, how do we get to those principles? And some people believe in more government to solve those principles, and some people believe in less. I think that's a fundamental how difference.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we have to go ahead.
Is the stuff, it's like what I said, like I need to be connected, acknowledged, appreciated, loved. That's,
Mm-hmm. That's really fundamentals. That's good. That's a step further that's even deeper than just the why. That's the emotion, the feeling. That's good. I like that. That's very good. So anything else we want to talk about bridging?
No, it's important. Try to do it as much as possible, I think.
Now, number 7 is the one I had to say twice because it's a tongue twister. No, you know nothing. Yeah. No, you know nothing. I think I know something, but no, you know nothing. So explain that.
I'm going to try not to jump into the next one, but no, you know nothing. Life is, it's hard not to go into the other one we're talking about after.
You know what? I'm going to put 7 and 8 together. So 8, I like that. Okay. So no, you know nothing is 7, and reality does not exist, because those are pretty tough points you're bringing up at the end here. Reality does not exist.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Well, explain both of those.
So all we have is perspective. Nothing exists. Therefore, you can do anything, live anything that you want to live. Everything can be whatever you want to perceive it to be. But the wall there is what I think I know.
Yeah, because you realize you don't know. There's too much to know. I know what you're saying.
We're comforted by meta narratives. We love the idea that there's an answer, that there's one easy sentence or something, or religion or something that makes it all make sense. And it's terrifying, the idea that there isn't. And however, I think on a daily basis, we come into contact with the fact that there are, we would like to think like, oh, people are inherently good, and then we're going to like see a bunch of bad stuff. And people are bad. That's what it is. Our base thing is that we're bad. And then you're going to see a bunch of amazing acts of humanity, or, life has meaning in this way. And you turn around and look at something and, well, there goes that one,
Those are complex issues.
Democrats are good. That. So you need to take care of yourself. You need to help other people. You know what I mean? Like, they're obviously not really functioning.
That thing you said, you need to take care of yourself so you can help other people. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't help other people.
Yeah, but
that's so
there's
true.
A line between going too far into the self, which is,
Yeah.
So I know nothing. It's like the more I can walk through life and realize that this is only my perception and keep an open mind, the more effective I'm being, I think.
Very good.
You know,
Hey, I'm going to go back to number 4 as we finish up. It says adjust perspective, and that fits into 7 and 8. I want to know, how have you adjusted perspective
start getting
recently?
Recently, through learning, always. You know, I
Education.
watched, like, this one always stands out in my mind, but I watched a documentary. It was about from PBS. It was about the people paradox, so about population increase crises and decrease crises that are happening simultaneously. So in the developed world, we have not enough people being born, and in the less developed world, we have an explosion in population leading to all kinds of horrible living conditions and things like that. And so it's giving the story about things that are going on in Africa, right? For example, that's just one thing we can think about. And, you know, like, take a minute to, like, take that in. So, like, this young girl, 15 years old, is taking care of her 5 siblings because their parents died of AIDS. They live in a shack in, you know, crazy overpopulated, you know, neighborhood. And, you know, she has to work as a sex worker to take care of her brothers and sisters. And during the filming, she realizes that she now has AIDS and there's no medication. And so sometimes we tend to talk about these things and, like, oh, well, there's people starving in Africa. But no, there are people starving in Africa. There are people dying by the millions because they can't have medication that exists to save their life. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to be dramatic. I'm just saying, in the midst of my day about worrying about the personal statement applications I have to turn in for Berkeley, okay, I feel a little bit less stressed now. You know, if I don't get into Berkeley, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. You know?
Right. No, I understand where you're coming from. You know, I worked with NGOs and civil military operations around the world, and I absolutely understand where you're coming from. It's a tough one. And those are the really deep questions. And it makes us feel thankful of what we have, especially being here in the U.S. And you're in California, I'm in Nevada. We live in great parts of the world. Yeah. And it's really not as bad as we might think it could be. It could always be worse.
You know, taking it a step further, you know, to be implicated, that I'm not just sitting here watching this all happen and it's not my responsibility, you know?
Okay. Hey, Sam, we're going to take a 2-minute break, then we're going to come back and tell the listener how they can find you and communicate with you.
Cool.
And we're also going to ask you one last question. Okay, we're coming back off a break. Sam and I had a nice discussion during the commercial break. Very nice, Sam. But now we're coming to the end of the show. So how does the listener find you?
So on Twitter and Instagram, my name is Sam Brooks Politics, straight through. And my email address is sambrookspolitics@gmail.com.
Oh, very good, Sam. I thank you. And we'll have those up on show notes at timelinesofsuccess.com, or you can go to podcastershome.com, or you can just Google like timelines and it'll start popping up. Google timelines and Sam, it'll pop up. A lot of good things. So, Sam, we have one last question.
Okay.
And this is an interesting question. And here it is. What are the challenges today of being queer?
So the way that I understand queerness is differentness. And it is extremely challenging in contemporary culture that's trying so hard to define itself with concepts like religion and sexuality and gender. Is very hard to ignore those concepts and to be yourself. But it's ultimately extremely rewarding. It's fantastic.
Well, you know, normally I don't ask one more question, but I'm going to ask one last question. What advice would you give to someone who went through what you went through when they're 15, 16, 17? What should they do that you didn't do?
I think that it's all about connection. If you're going into a thing where it's me, 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 me. That kind of thinking, that kind of living. I don't like absolute truths. I don't believe in them, but I'd say that you are probably on the wrong track. There's so much more to this than us as individuals.
Okay. So inner perspective?
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know. Does that make sense? I never know.
Inner perspective. I think just look at close to yourself and find out what your truth is. Well, Sam, I want to thank you for coming on and remind the listeners that they can find you this weekend on Blab. You'll be at Meet the Voter, meetthevoter.com. It's a fairly new show. It's doing fairly well right after Meet the Press at 9:30. Looks like I froze for a second. That we're using this Blab IM platform to create a podcast. So thank you, Sam, for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What we'll do after we close up, we're done for podcasting and iTunes. And we're going to let folks come on and ask questions that they want to. Again, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.